Whether they carry soldiers, starfighters, or just enough firepower to blow pieces of foes into the next star system, capital ships tend to be the center of both battles and our attention. Whenever they occupy the screen, they inspire uplifting hope or crippling fear. These are my top 10 sci-fi capital ships. When I say nerdy shit from all over, I mean books too. Hailing from Christopher Paolini's Fractalverse series, the UMCS Extenuating Circumstances was a United Military Command vessel that was sent to the Sigma Draconis system following the discovery of the seed. Its mission was to quarantine and study the seed and Kira Nevares, to whom it bound itself. Of the ships on this list, the Extenuating Circumstances is definitely the most realistic with its approach to travel and artificial gravity. It also held 2 Markov drive-equipped shuttles, and, like many larger vessels, a ship mind. These were organic brains inserted into a neural sarcophagus that acted as an interface with all ship's systems. Really, the only reason the Extenuating Circumstances is this far down on the list is because of its swift destruction by the Renawi, a race that had experience with the old ones and were terrified that a seed had been discovered. At number 9 is the flagship of the Taken King. Oryx first traveled to the Sol System after the death of his son Crota to exact his revenge. This Hive God King commanded a massive ship with a powerful weapon capable of taking out entire fleets. He was also the only being alive capable of taking other races and bending them to his will. The Dreadnought was the main setting of Destiny's Taken King expansion. It came to rest in Saturn's orbit after being attacked by the Awoken, and the field of destruction it created in the rings was able to be seen from Titan. Oryx's mobile throne world would remain in this place long after its master was forced to abdicate. Next up is an experimental Infinity-class supercarrier of the UNSC Navy. This massive vessel was built in secret using technology from both the Forerunner and the Covenant. Originally captained by Andrew Del Rio and later Thomas Lasky, the Infinity served as the flagship of the United Nations Space Command. It held a crew of nearly 20,000, both military and civilian, and a shipboard AI named Roland. The Infinity saw many battles throughout its service and went through a retrofit in 2558 that included a full systems upgrade as well as scheduled maintenance. Around this time, a second Infinity-class vessel named the Eternity had commenced construction. The UNSC Infinity was last seen at Installation 7, also known as the Zeta Halo, where it was presumed destroyed in the conflict. That said, its current status and whereabouts are unknown. So far, this has been a pattern of good guys and bad guys, but I promise that's not going to be the rest of the video. That said, the next capital ship on this list is the Mothership from Independence Day. This command vessel used by the Harvesters was very unusual in its shape and absolutely huge, by far the largest on this list. It held a complement of 37 city destroyers and countless attackers, as well as other weapons and vehicles. It was likely also home to billions of Harvesters given its size. The interior of the mothership was very insect-like, probably most analogous to the tunnels in a beehive. When it first arrived in 1996 to begin its invasion of Earth, it went more or less unnoticed by hiding behind the moon. Eventually, however, it was discovered and infiltrated via a captured alien vessel. The infiltrators were then able to sabotage the Harvesters' communications and shields, and afterward, they nuked the mothership. Too bad it would come back 20 years later bigger and badder than before. The final villainous capital ship on our list is Thanos' Sanctuary 2. See, I told you I'd break the pattern. Anyway, the Purple Genocide Man used this vessel as a mobile base from which he launched multiple massacres and searched for the Infinity Stones. The Black Order was also based out of Sanctuary 2, where they helped Thanos towards his goal of eliminating half of all life in the universe. The ship was massive in size and held the Chitauri army that Thanos used in his invasions. It was also very heavily armed, with an impressive array of cannons that Thanos ordered to fire on the battlefield in Endgame to free him from the clutches of the Scarlet Witch, who was about 2 seconds away from smoking his ass. Despite all that firepower, it was no match for Captain Marvel. Moving into the top 5, we have a vessel that may not be able to stand up to some of the others on this list in terms of pure firepower, but was instrumental in saving the Solana Galaxy. The Starship Phoenix was introduced in Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal, where it served as a mobile command center for the Galactic Rangers in their struggle against Dr. Nefarious and his Bio-Obliterator. After rescuing and rehabilitating Captain Quark, it also housed the Q-Force. The Phoenix contained all the amenities a working-class hero might need, including weapon and armor vendors, a VR training area, trophy room, and a VG9000 gaming system. This one may not have been a spacefaring vessel, but the Nebuchadnezzar was nevertheless an iconic capital ship. It was part of Zion's defense fleet and captained by Morpheus. This was the first of the hovercraft ever seen in the Matrix trilogy and served as a mobile base of operations for its crew. It was smaller and far less armed than some of the other ships, though it was arguably the most important ship in the fleet since it carried Neo and Trinity. The Nebuchadnezzar, or Neb for short, used an array of hover pads to fly through underground tunnels via the strong electromagnetic field they generated. As previously mentioned, it was minimally armed and only held a standard issue EMP to be used in the event of detection by Sentinels. Its primary purpose was to go behind enemy lines via the pirated connection to the Matrix, both for espionage and to free potentials from the machine's grasp. Special shout out to the Mjolnir, aka the Hammer, which could have taken this spot. Despite her fat ass, as Niobe put it,
shit, she's got a fat ass.
The ship was very capable. With the combined crews and supplies of the Neb, Logos, and Hammer, it was an insanely powerful force to be reckoned with. Here we have the pride of the Asari and flagship of the Citadel fleet. The Destiny Ascension was a massive dreadnought which contained almost as much firepower as the entire rest of the Asari fleet combined. It dwarfs even the largest of human dreadnoughts. Commanded by Matriarch Lidania, the ship is one of the most formidable forces outside of the Reapers in Mass Effect's Milky Way. It is possible for the Ascension to be destroyed in the first Mass Effect depending on Shepard's choices, which will also determine if the original Citadel Council survives or not, given that they were on board. If it does survive, it will go on a 20-colony victory cruise in ME2 and will be a vital asset in the war effort in ME3 after upgrades to its shields and firepower.
Be bold.
Be brave.
Be courageous. Black Alert.
Strap in and prepare for Black Alert as we move into number 2. The USS Discovery, NCC-1031, was a Crossfield-class starship and a twin to the USS Glenn. Both ships were equipped with an experimental displacement-activated spore drive that allowed them to jump across the mycelial network covering the Milky Way galaxy. Though the Glenn's crew was killed and the ship was subsequently destroyed to keep its technology out of enemy hands, Discovery continued to serve through to the end of the Federation Klingon War and even into the 32nd century after some time travel. After it arrived in the future and began rebuilding Starfleet, it was retrofitted with modern technologies such as programmable matter and detached nacelles. It also developed a sentient personality known as Zora as a result of the integration of data from the Sphere with its computer systems. Discovery had multiple captains throughout its tenure, and in the 32nd century even had 2 captains serving at once, with one in command of the vessel and the other serving as first officer. The first captain, Gabriel Lorca, was actually from the Mirror Universe and planned to use the spore drive to return there and overthrow Emperor Georgiou. To his credit, he did assist Starfleet with the war effort before putting his plan into action, though his use of the spore drive as a military weapon was a bit questionable and nearly got Paul Stamets killed. Other captains included Christopher Pike, Saru, and Michael Burnham. At some unknown point, Discovery was abandoned and remained adrift for nearly a millennium. Fun fact, Discovery's registry number is actually what it looks like. It was chosen because Brian Fuller loves Halloween.
You never forget your first, sir.
This is the big one. With some of the most iconic ship design in any media out there, the Empire's Super Star Destroyers spread fear throughout the galaxy. Perhaps the most well-known of these was Darth Vader's personal flagship, the Executor. It was of the eponymous starship class and cost 325 billion credits to manufacture. The Executor's design resembled an arrowhead, like most Imperial Star Destroyers, but it was much larger. Crewed by nearly 300,000, it was essentially a mobile city. This fleet killer was regarded as the most important ship in the Imperial Navy and oversaw many important battles, such as the Battle of Hoth. It was also present at the Battle of Endor as part of the Emperor's trap to snuff out the Rebel Alliance once and for all, though it was destroyed by an A-Wing that had lost control and crashed into its bridge. This caused the Executor to lose power and collide with the Death Star too. There were bigger and badder ships created by the First Order and Sith Eternals later in the sequel trilogy, but in my opinion, none of them were as iconic as this. Let me know if you have any differing opinions or if I missed any badass capital ships. Just don't start a fight in my comments. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and join the family if you want to see more nerdy shit. Remember, love recklessly. Start with yourself.